In the deep shadows of the Middle Ages, knowledge was a treasure locked behind the walls of monasteries and the private libraries of kings. For centuries, the only way to reproduce a book was by the human hand, a painstaking process that could take a single scribe years to complete. These manuscripts were beautiful objects of art, adorned with gold leaf and vibrant pigments, but they were scarce and exorbitantly expensive. The vast majority of the population lived in illiteracy, their understanding of the world limited to what they were told by the clergy or the nobility. Ideas spread slowly, often dying out before they could take root in distant lands. Europe was stagnant, waiting for a spark to ignite the dry tinder of dormant curiosity. That spark would not come from a king or a pope, but from a goldsmith named Johannes Gutenberg. Born Johannes Gensfleisch zu Laden in the city of Mainz, Germany, around the turn of the 15th century, he was a child of the patrician class. His family worked in the cloth trade and with the mint, giving young Johannes early exposure to the workings of metal and commerce. He learned the properties of gold and silver, how they melted, how they could be cast, and how they could be stamped. These early lessons in metallurgy would prove to be the foundation of his revolutionary invention. Political turmoil in Mainz forced Gutenberg and his family into exile, and he settled in the bustling city of Strasbourg. It was in Strasbourg that Gutenberg began to experiment with secrets that he kept hidden from even his closest associates. He engaged in the manufacture of mirrors for pilgrims, intended to capture the holy light of relics. This venture involved casting metal in molds, a technique that hinted at what was to come. When the pilgrimage was cancelled due to a plague, Gutenberg was left with unsold inventory and debt. Desperate to recoup his losses, he promised his investors a share in a new, secret art. This art and adventure was the printing press, though he had not yet perfected it. He spent years in Strasbourg, consuming his inheritance on lead, presses, and strange tools. He bought a wine press, studying the mechanics of the large wooden screw. If a press could squeeze the juice from grapes, could it not squeeze ink onto paper? But was only one part of the puzzle. Woodblock printing already existed, but it was rigid and carved from a single block. If a mistake was made, the entire block had to be scrapped. Gutenberg envisioned something different, individual letters that could be rearranged. To achieve this, he needed to mass-produce these letters with identical dimensions. His background as a goldsmith provided the answer: casting, ice. He invented the hand mold, a two-part device that could adjust to the width of any letter. This was the true genius of his invention, the key to movable type. He needed a master pattern, called a punch, carved from hard steel. The punch was driven into a softer copper bar to create the matrix. This matrix was then placed in the bottom of the hand mold. Molten alloy was poured in, cooling instantly to form a piece of type. But what metal to use? Pure lead was too soft. It would deform under the pressure of the press. Iron was too hard to melt easily. After countless trials, he found the perfect alloy: lead, tin, and antimony. This mixture melted at a low temperature, but cooled into a hard, durable character. Even as the metal cooled, it expanded slightly, filling every detail of the mold. With the type solved, Gutenberg faced another challenge: the ink. The water-based inks used by scribes did not stick to metal type. They pooled and ran, creating a messy blur. Gutenberg looked to the painters of the time who were using oil paints. He developed an oil-based ink, rich with lampblack and varnish. This new ink was tacky. It adhered to the metal and transferred perfectly to paper. Finally, having returned to Mainz, he was ready to prove his concept. But invention is expensive, and Gutenberg was penniless. He turned to a wealthy goldsmith and lawyer, Johann Fust. Fust saw the potential and loaned Gutenberg a massive sum of 800 guilders. With this capital, Gutenberg set up a workshop and hired assistants. Among them was Peter Schoeffer, a skilled scribe and calligrapher. Schoeffer's eye for design would be crucial in mimicking the look of handwritten manuscripts. They began with small projects, Latin grammars and indulgence slips. These generated some revenue, but Gutenberg had his eyes on a greater prize. He wanted to print the Holy Bible. It had to be perfect, indistinguishable from the finest work of the scribes. They prepared the text, calculating the lines and the spacing. They decided on 2 columns of 42 lines each. Thousands of individual pieces of type had to be cast. Compositors stood at cases, picking letters one by one to build the words. It was tedious work, requiring absolute precision. Once a page was composed, it was inked with the leather balls. Paper, imported from Italy, was dampened to take the impression better. For the most luxurious copies, they used vellum, the skin of calves. The paper was placed on the tympan and folded down. The bed was rolled under the platen. The pressman pulled the handle, the great screw turning, bringing the platen down with immense force. For a moment, metal kissed paper. The handle was released, the bed rolled out, and the page revealed. It was a miracle of uniformity. Gutenberg printed around 180 copies of the Bible. Most were on paper, but a few were on vellum. They left spaces for the initials and headings to be added by hand. Artists were hired to illuminate these printed pages, blending the new technology with old tradition. The result was breathtaking, but the work had taken longer than expected. Fust had invested another 800 guilders, and he wanted his return. Gutenberg, a perfectionist, was more concerned with quality than speed. Tensions boiled over. In 1455, just as the Bibles were nearing completion, Fust sued Gutenberg. The court case was held in the refectory of the Barefooted Friars in Mainz. Fust demanded his money back with interest. Gutenberg could not pay. The court ruled in Fust's favor. Gutenberg lost everything. The press, the type, the ink, and the nearly finished Bibles were turned over to Fust. Peter Schoeffer, Gutenberg's skilled assistant, sided with Fust. Together, Fust and Schoeffer finished the Bibles and sold them. They reaped the rewards of Gutenberg's lifetime of labor. Gutenberg was left bankrupt and broken. But his spirit was not entirely extinguished. He managed to start a smaller printing shop, perhaps in Bamberg, Test. He continued to print, producing the Catholicon Dictionary by. Though he never achieved the wealth of Fust, his contribution was beginning to be recognized. In 1465, the Archbishop of Mainz, Adolf von Nassau, recognized Gutenberg's achievement. He was given the title of Hofmann, a gentleman of the court. This came with a stipend of corn, wine, and clothing. His final years were spent in relative comfort, though he remained a man of shadows. Gutenberg died in 1468 and was buried in the Franciscan church in Mainz. Tragically, the church and his grave were later destroyed, leaving no physical monument. Yet his true monument was everywhere. By the time of his death, printing presses were spreading across Europe like wildfire. In Venice, printers were refining the type, creating elegant Roman fonts. In England, William Caxton set up the first press in Westminster. The cost of books plummeted. Libraries that once held a few dozen manuscripts now held thousands of volumes. Knowledge was no longer the privilege of the rich. The spread of information fueled the Renaissance. Ancient texts were rediscovered and mass-produced. Scientific discoveries could be shared accurately and quickly. Without the press, the work of Copernicus or Vesalius might have been lost. 50 years after Gutenberg, Martin Luther would use the press to shake the foundations of the church. The Reformation was driven by the power of the printed word. Gutenberg had democratized information. He broke the monopoly of the scribes and the gatekeepers of knowledge. The information age did not begin with the internet. It began with the press. Every newspaper, every magazine, every textbook owes its existence to him. The layout of the page, the justification of text, the very fonts we read today have their roots in Mainz. Gutenberg's invention is often cited as the most important of the second millennium. He died without knowing the full extent of what he had unleashed. He sought to make beautiful Bibles, but he ended up remaking the human mind. World of silence and slow scribes was gone. The clatter of the printing press became the heartbeat of progress. Today, we carry the legacy of Gutenberg in our pockets, on our screens, and in our mind. He was the printer who ignited the Renaissance, and the fire he started is still burning. His story is a testament to the power of persistence. It is a story of technical brilliance meeting artistic vision. It is a warning about the perils of debt and business. But mostly, it is the story of how one man changed history. We are all children of Gutenberg. His lead letters cast a long shadow, a shadow that brought light to the world. The smell of oil ink and the creak of the wooden press are the sounds of freedom. Freedom to read, freedom to think, freedom to share. This was Gutenberg's gift, a gift that keeps on giving. From the valleys of Mainz to the digital cloud, the journey of the written word continues. But it was Gutenberg who paved the road. Let us remember the goldsmith, the exile, the inventor, the man who gave us the world. His name was Johannes, and he printed the truth. In the end, the lead turned to gold. Not the gold of coins, but the gold of knowledge. A wealth that cannot be spent. A treasure for all humanity. The press rolls on, and the pages turn, one by one, chapter by chapter, building the library of mankind. Thank you, Johannes Gutenberg, for the light, for the word, for the future. The ink is dry, the work is done, but the story never ends. It is reprinted every day, in every language, in every land, forever. Gutenberg, the printer, the legend. History is written in lead, and it endures, just as he dreamed. The revolution continues, one letter at a time, one word at a time, one book at a time, into the great unknown, carrying the wisdom of the ages, encoded in our history art, thanks to the man from Mainz, the Renaissance man, the master of the matrix, the father of the font, Johannes Gutenberg, the printer who ignited the world.